Have you ever wondered why ignoring a guy suddenly makes him chase you? Why does pulling away make him more interested? It sounds counterintuitive, but psychology proves this works. And it's not just some dating trick. There are real psychological principles behind it. In this video, we'll break down exactly why ignoring him works, using real studies and psychological principles, so you can understand the science behind attraction and human behavior. Let's get started. Why do some men lose interest so fast? It's a frustrating experience. At first, he seems interested. He texts, calls, and makes plans. But suddenly he starts pulling away. The messages become less frequent. The effort drops. You feel like you're the only one keeping the connection alive. Sound familiar? You might start thinking, did I do something wrong? Maybe I should text him more. Should I show him how much I care so he doesn't lose interest? And this is where most people make a critical mistake. They start chasing. They send more messages. They try to initiate plans. They act more available. And ironically, this pushes him away even more. But why does this happen? Why do some men lose interest when you give them more attention, but chase when you ignore them? The answer lies in psychological principles like the scarcity effect, reverse psychology, and the reward system. Let's break this down step by step. The psychology of ignoring him. Ignoring a man works because it triggers deep psychological responses in his brain. Responses that are based on human behavior, not just dating tactics. The scarcity effect. The scarcity principle, introduced by psychologist Robert Cialdini, suggests that people value things more when they are rare or hard to get. When something is always available, it feels less special. But if it's difficult to obtain, our desire for it grows. A classic 1975 study by Stephen Warshall proved this idea. He showed participants 2 jars of identical cookies. One jar had 10 cookies, while the other had only 2. Despite being the same cookies, people rated the ones in the nearly empty jar as more desirable. The scarcity made them seem more valuable. This principle applies to relationships too. When you're always available, it's like being the jar with 10 cookies, predictable and easy to take for granted. But when you pull back, you transform into the jar with just 2 cookies. Suddenly your attention feels rare, and he starts to wonder if he might lose it. Ignoring him taps into this scarcity mindset. It creates a natural shift where he feels the need to earn back your attention. It's not about playing games, but about balancing the dynamic. When he senses he could lose you, your value in his eyes increases. This psychological shift can often lead to stronger attraction and more genuine interest. The psychological reactance theory. Ever noticed how people suddenly want something more when it's taken away? This is called psychological reactance, a theory developed by psychologist Jack Brame. It explains how humans resist losing their sense of freedom or control. When something is no longer available, the mind automatically wants it back. In relationships, this works the same way. When you ignore a guy, he senses a shift. He was used to your attention, but now it's missing. His brain interprets this as a loss of influence over you. Instead of accepting it, he feels the need to regain what he once had. This reaction isn't always conscious. It's wired into human behavior. This is why many guys suddenly reach out when you stop responding. They might not have shown much interest before, but the moment your attention is gone, their brain registers it as a threat to their freedom of choice. The result? They start texting, calling, or making an effort to pull you back in. It's not manipulation, it's psychology. When you step back, you create space for him to realize your value. That space makes him question whether he's really ready to let you go, triggering a natural urge to chase. The dopamine effect. Dopamine is the brain's reward chemical. It's responsible for pleasure, motivation, and addiction. But here's the trick. Dopamine spikes when rewards are unpredictable. A 2001 study on dopamine and reward systems showed that people experience stronger dopamine responses when they receive rewards inconsistently rather than predictably. This is the same principle casinos use to keep people gambling. Random rewards keep people coming back. Now, let's apply this to relationships. When you constantly text, reply fast, and always initiate, he knows what to expect. There's no unpredictability, so dopamine levels remain low. When you ignore him or pull away, his brain starts craving that lost attention. Uncertainty triggers a dopamine spike, making him feel more drawn to you. This is why many people say, As soon as I stopped caring, he started chasing. It's not magic, it's brain chemistry. The Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect is a psychological principle that explains why people remember unfinished tasks better than completed ones. Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik discovered this in a study where participants were interrupted during a task. Those who didn't finish were far more likely to remember it than those who completed it. This applies to relationships too. When someone pulls away unexpectedly, it creates an open loop in the other person's mind. Their brain keeps returning to the situation, trying to make sense of it. Ignoring a guy triggers this effect. He was used to your attention, but now there's a sudden gap. His mind starts searching for answers, replaying past interactions, and wondering what changed. Without closure, he can't fully move on. The uncertainty makes him think about you even more. Over time, these repeated thoughts can intensify his feelings. This is why ignoring someone often makes them more interested instead of less. It's not just curiosity, it's an unresolved emotional experience that his brain wants to complete. This isn't about playing games, but understanding human psychology. When you step back, you create a mental space that keeps you on his mind, sometimes more than when you were fully present. How to use this psychology to your advantage. Now that you understand why ignoring him works, here's how to do it effectively without playing mind games. Number 1, stop over-investing. If you're always the one reaching out first, stop. Give him space to initiate conversations. If he's interested, he'll reach out. If not, chasing won't change that. Number 2, be unpredictable. If you always reply immediately, start delaying responses sometimes. If you always say yes to plans, be busy once in a while. Create a little mystery. Let him wonder what you're doing. Number 3, focus on yourself. Instead of waiting for his texts, stay busy with your own life. Work on your goals, hobbies, and social life. When you have an interesting life, people naturally want to be part of it. Number 4, match his energy. If he puts in effort, match it. If he pulls away, don't chase, mirror his behavior. This prevents you from over-investing and keeps the balance of interest in check. Number 5, use the reset rule. If you've already over-pursued him, don't panic. Just pull back. Stop initiating for a while. Give him time to notice your absence. If he's truly interested, he will come back. If not, you'll know where you stand. Ignoring him isn't about manipulation, it's about understanding how human psychology works. People value what they have to work for. Scarcity increases attraction. Uncertainty triggers dopamine. Unfinished emotional loops keep people hooked. If you've ever felt frustrated by a guy losing interest, remember this. Pulling back creates space for him to chase, but the key is to do it authentically. Don't ignore him just to get a reaction. Do it because you're genuinely focused on yourself. The right person will appreciate your value without needing games, and that's the real power of understanding psychology in relationships. If you found this insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more psychology-backed insights on relationships and attraction. See you in the next one.